Every single one of us stands at a crossroads every day. We wake up, and whether we realize it or not, we make choices that shape our future. Some choices seem small, whether to hit the snooze button, what to eat for breakfast, how to respond to an email. Others feel bigger, choosing a career path, ending a toxic relationship, taking a leap of faith. But here's the truth. The future is not something we wait for. The future is something we create. And today I want to share with you 5 powerful rules that will change your future, not just in theory, but in practice. These are the principles that separate those who drift through life from those who shape it. Let's dive in. There's a reason why some people seem to turn every obstacle into an opportunity, while others feel stuck, unable to move forward. It's not intelligence, it's not luck, and it's not talent. It's mindset. The way you choose to perceive the world around you is the single most powerful factor in determining your future. Your mindset dictates how you respond to failure, how you face uncertainty, and whether you rise after a setback or stay down, convinced that life is unfair. 2 people can experience the exact same situation, but their responses can be worlds apart. Imagine 2 entrepreneurs launching their first businesses. Both are equally skilled, equally motivated, and equally prepared. Yet one of them hits a major roadblock. An investor pulls out, the market shifts, or the product doesn't perform as expected. One person sees this as proof that they were never meant to succeed, that they should cut their losses and move on. The other sees it as a challenge, a puzzle to solve, a moment to adapt and grow. One fails and walks away, the other fails and finds a way forward. This is not about positive thinking. It's about understanding that every single event in your life is neutral until you assign it meaning. A rejection can either be seen as a sign that you're not good enough or as feedback that will help you improve. A failure can either be an ending or a beginning. The difference isn't the circumstance, it's the perspective. Think about Thomas Edison. He experimented thousands of times before successfully inventing the light bulb. Most people would have given up after the first dozen failed attempts, and almost everyone would have quit after 100. But Edison saw failure differently. To him, every failed attempt was not a waste of time. It was a step closer to success. He wasn't just optimistic. He understood something most people miss. Failure is data. It's information. It's feedback that teaches you what doesn't work so you can move closer to what does. What's incredible is that this same lesson applies to every aspect of life, not just innovation. Relationships, careers, personal growth, it's all the same. The people who thrive are the ones who refuse to be defeated by setbacks. They don't let rejection define them. They don't let one bad day convince them they have a bad life. They don't let failure trick them into believing they aren't capable of success. The problem is most people live their lives waiting for external circumstances to change before they allow themselves to believe in a better future. They wait for the perfect opportunity, the perfect conditions, the perfect moment to start. But the truth is, the world will always have challenges. The economy will always fluctuate. People will always doubt you. You will always have moments of uncertainty. If you let these external factors dictate your mindset, you will never move forward. The strongest, most successful people in the world are not the ones who had perfect conditions. They are the ones who moved forward despite the conditions. They made choices based on their vision, not their fear. They refused to let failure be the final chapter. The question is, what do you believe about yourself? When you face a setback, do you believe that you are stuck, or do you believe that you are capable of growing through it? When someone tells you no, do you internalize it as rejection, or do you see it as redirection towards something better? When something doesn't go as planned, do you see yourself as a victim, or do you see yourself as the author of your own story? There's a study that proves just how powerful mindset is. Psychologist Carol Dweck conducted research on what she called a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. People with a fixed mindset believe that their intelligence, abilities, and talents are set in stone. They think, I'm either good at this or I'm not. I either have what it takes or I don't. And when they fail, they see it as proof that they are not enough. But people with a growth mindset see things differently. They believe that intelligence, skills, and abilities are developed through effort, learning, and perseverance. They understand that failure is not a reflection of who they are. It's simply part of the learning process. When they fail, they don't say, I'm not good enough. They say, I'm not good enough yet. The difference between these two mindsets can literally determine the course of a person's life. Students with a growth mindset perform better in school because they don't give up when they struggle. Athletes with a growth mindset push harder because they believe they can improve. Entrepreneurs with a growth mindset find solutions instead of excuses. This is why your mindset is the most important thing you can control. Everything else in life is unpredictable, but this is in your hands. You can decide right now to change the way you see setbacks. You can choose to see obstacles as opportunities for growth. You can choose to believe that your failures do not define you. And let me be clear, this doesn't mean ignoring pain. This doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Life will test you. It will push you to your limits. You will face moments where you doubt yourself, where you question whether it's worth it. But in those moments, you have a choice. Do you let the pain break you, or do you let it build you? Think about the people who inspire you. Think about the people who have changed the world. None of them had it easy. They all faced moments of doubt. They all had failures, rejections, losses. The only difference between them and the people who gave up is that they refused to let their circumstances dictate their mindset. That same power is in you. The world will try to convince you that your limitations define you, but they don't. Your past does not define you. Your failures do not define you. The only thing that defines you is what you decide to do next. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control what you believe about it. And what you believe about it will determine how you respond. So ask yourself, what if the things you see as obstacles are actually opportunities? What if failure isn't a sign to stop, but a sign to keep going? What if the only thing standing between you and the future you want is the way you choose to see it? Because at the end of the day, your mindset is either your greatest weapon or your biggest enemy. And the moment you take control of it, the moment you decide to see failure as fuel, to see setbacks as stepping stones, that is the moment your future starts to change. From the time we are young, we are conditioned to ask for permission. We ask for permission to speak, to leave the room, to take action. In school, we raise our hands. At work, we wait for someone to recognize our potential. In life, we hold ourselves back, waiting for some invisible sign that tells us we are ready. But the truth is, no one is coming to give you permission. No one is going to tap you on the shoulder and say, now is the time. You are ready. Go for it. The world does not work that way. The world belongs to those who decide to move forward without waiting for approval. Too many people spend their lives waiting for validation, waiting for someone to recognize their talents, waiting for the perfect opportunity. But what if the people you are waiting on never come? What if the permission you are seeking is something only you can give yourself? The difference between those who change the world and those who remain stuck is not talent, it's not intelligence, it's not luck. It's the decision to step forward when no one else is telling you to. Think about Oprah Winfrey. She was born into poverty, raised in difficult circumstances, and faced rejection after rejection in her early career. She was told she didn't have the right look, that she wasn't fit for television, that she should lower her ambitions. If she had waited for the world to approve of her, she would have never built one of the most successful media empires in history. She didn't ask for permission. She saw what she was capable of before anyone else did. Elon Musk didn't wait for the world to tell him it was okay to start SpaceX. He was not an aerospace engineer. He had no experience building rockets. There were experts in the field who laughed at him, who said he was crazy for even trying. If he had listened to them, if he had waited for permission, there would be no reusable rockets, no Tesla revolutionizing the automotive industry. The world didn't grant him permission, he took it. The Wright brothers didn't wait for validation before building the first airplane. At the time, most people believed human flight was impossible. There were skeptics, critics, people who mocked their ambition. They didn't have government funding. They didn't have a team of experts backing them. They didn't have a blueprint for success, but they had belief. They had a vision. They moved forward despite the doubts of others. And because they refused to wait for permission, they changed the course of history. If you wait for the world to tell you that you're ready, you will wait forever. Because the truth is, you will never feel fully ready. There will always be doubt. There will always be fear. There will always be a voice in the back of your head telling you that you need more time, more knowledge, more experience. But confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence comes from action. Think about a baby learning to walk. They don't sit there waiting until they feel 100% ready to take their first step. They just try. They fall, they stumble, they get back up, and they try again. And through that process, they figure it out. They build the strength, the balance, the confidence by moving. And yet, as we grow older, we forget this. We convince ourselves that we need to know everything before we start, that we need to have every step planned out, that we need to be granted permission. The people who succeed in life are not necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They are the ones who move first. They take risks. They try things before they feel ready. They trust themselves enough to figure it out along the way. They don't wait for perfect conditions because perfect conditions don't exist. Look at the most successful people in any field. Do you think they had all the answers before they started? Do you think they were completely sure of themselves? No. They had doubts just like you do. They had moments of fear, but they understood one crucial thing. Action creates clarity. Imagine you are standing in front of a foggy path. You can't see what's ahead. Most people would hesitate waiting for the fog to clear before they move. But the ones who succeed, they take a step forward anyway. And with each step, the path becomes clearer. With each action, they learn more, they gain experience, they adjust, they grow. Most people don't fail because they tried and fell short. They fail because they never tried at all. They let fear paralyze them. They let the opinions of others hold them back. They spend their lives waiting for permission that will never come. There's a famous story about a man who spent years dreaming of starting his own business. Every time he thought about it, he found a reason to wait. He needed more experience. He needed to save more money. He needed to be sure it would work. Decades passed and he never started. One day he was having a conversation with a friend who asked, if you had started 10 years ago, where do you think you'd be now? The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. He had wasted years waiting for the perfect moment, when in reality, the perfect moment was the moment he first had the idea. That's the tragedy for so many people. They spend years, sometimes even a lifetime, waiting for permission. And in the end, they look back and wonder what could have been. You don't need to wait for someone to tell you that you're good enough. You don't need an official stamp of approval to chase your dreams. The world belongs to those who claim their space. Think about how different your life could be if starting today, you stopped waiting. If you stopped asking for permission and just started. If you stopped needing validation from others and chose to believe in yourself instead. Imagine what you could create. Imagine where you could be a year from now, 5 years from now, if you just took the first step. The people who succeed are not necessarily the ones with the best ideas. They are the ones who dare to act on them. They don't wait for permission. They take risks. They put themselves out there. They fail. They learn. They grow. The only thing standing between you and the future you want is the belief that you are allowed to go after it. And the moment you stop waiting, the moment you realize that no one else holds the key to your future except you, is the moment everything changes. Change is inevitable. It is one of the only constants in life, yet most people resist it. They hold on to what they know, to what feels safe, to the habits and beliefs that have carried them this far. But the truth is, what got you here will not necessarily get you where you want to go. The world is evolving faster than ever before. The way we work, the way we communicate, the way businesses operate, everything is shifting at a pace we've never seen before. And in a world that moves this fast, the ability to adapt is not just an advantage, it's survival. Blockbuster was once an industry giant. It dominated the movie rental space with stores in nearly every city. Then Netflix came along offering a new way to rent movies, no late fees, no trips to the store. Blockbuster had a chance to buy Netflix in its early days, but they laughed at the idea. They believed people would always prefer DVDs. They resisted change because it didn't fit their old model. By the time they recognized their mistake, it was too late. Netflix adapted. Blockbuster did not. And today, only one of them still exists. The companies, individuals, and leaders who succeed are not the ones who cling to the past. They are the ones who embrace the future, who see change not as a threat, but as an opportunity. They understand that in order to thrive, they must constantly evolve. They must learn, unlearn, and relearn. They must be willing to let go of old ways of thinking, even when it's uncomfortable. Kodak invented the digital camera. Think about that for a second. They had the technology in their hands before anyone else, but they buried it. Why? Because they were in the business of selling film. They feared that embracing digital photography would hurt their core business. They refused to adapt, even as the world around them changed. And eventually, they became irrelevant. Meanwhile, companies that had never sold a roll of film in their lives, companies like Apple and Samsung, dominated the camera industry. This is not just about business. It's about life. The same principle applies to careers, to relationships, to personal growth. If you are not willing to adapt, you will be left behind. If you are clinging to an outdated mindset, a belief system that no longer serves you, or a way of doing things that no longer works, you are limiting your own future. Think about the most successful people you know. They didn't get there by standing still. They didn't get there by doing the same thing over and over, hoping the world would stay the same. They got there by adjusting, by learning, by evolving. They embraced new challenges, new skills, new ways of thinking. There's a reason why some of the most successful CEOs in the world are avid readers. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, spends hours every day reading. Why? Because he understands that the world is constantly changing, and the only way to stay ahead is to keep learning. He once said, the more you learn, the more you earn. He's not just talking about money. He's talking about value, about impact, about relevance. Now, think about your own life. Are you holding on to old ways of thinking? Are you resisting change because it's uncomfortable? Are you telling yourself, this is just how I've always done it, instead of asking, is there a better way? The truth is, adaptability is not about abandoning who you are. It's about expanding who you are. It's about becoming more than what you were yesterday. It's about being flexible enough to navigate the unexpected, to see change as an opportunity rather than a threat. Consider Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest boxers of all time. In his prime, he was known for his speed, his agility, his ability to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. But when he faced George Foreman in the famous Rumble in the Jungle, he knew he couldn't rely on his usual strategy. Foreman was stronger, younger, and had been knocking out opponents left and right. So Ali adapted. He developed a new strategy, the rope-a-dope. He let Foreman tire himself out, absorbing punches until the perfect moment to strike. It was risky, it was different, it was something he had never done before, but it worked. And because he was willing to adapt, he won one of the most legendary fights in history. This is the power of adaptability. It is the ability to recognize when something is no longer working and to shift course. It is the ability to embrace uncertainty with confidence. It is the ability to take risks, to step into the unknown, to trust that even if you don't have all the answers yet, you will figure them out along the way. The most successful people are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who learn from failure, who adjust, who try again. They are the ones who don't let their egos get in the way of growth. They are the ones who understand that being wrong today does not mean being wrong forever. It simply means there is more to learn. Imagine two people working at the same company. One of them is stuck in their ways. They have been doing the same job the same way for years. They resist new technology. They avoid learning new skills. They believe that because they've been there for a long time, they don't need to change. The other person is constantly learning. They take online courses. They read about industry trends. They ask questions. They experiment with new approaches. Now, fast forward 5 years. Which one do you think will be more successful? The future belongs to those who are willing to evolve, to those who embrace curiosity over comfort, to those who see change not as something to fear, but as something to master. The only way to stay ahead in a world that is moving this fast is to be willing to move with it. If you want to shape your future, commit to being a lifelong student. Never stop learning, never stop questioning, never stop growing. The moment you think you have it all figured out is the moment you start falling behind. The greatest leaders, the most successful individuals, the people who truly make an impact, they all have one thing in common. They never stop adapting. They never stop evolving. They never stop becoming better than they were yesterday. You don't have to know all the answers. You just have to be willing to find them. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be open to learning. The future is not a place you wait for. It's a place you create. And the people who create the future are the ones who are not afraid to change. No one succeeds alone, not truly. We love the idea of the lone genius, the self-made success story, the individual who defies the odds and rises to greatness all on their own. But the truth is, behind every success story, there is a network of relationships, of mentors, of supporters who played a role in shaping that journey. We are wired for connection. We are built to rely on one another, to learn from one another, to grow together. And yet so many people treat relationships as transactions, as stepping stones, as tools to be used rather than bridges to be built. There's an old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This is not just a nice sentiment. It's a fundamental truth about how success works. The people who build lasting success are the ones who understand the power of relationships. They don't just focus on what they can get, they focus on what they can give. They don't just network, they connect. They don't just meet people, they invest in them. Think about Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors of all time, but what many people overlook is how much his success has been shaped by relationships. His mentor, Benjamin Graham, taught him the principles of value investing, principles that became the foundation of his entire career. His longtime business partner, Charlie Munger, provided insights, wisdom, and a complementary way of thinking that helped Buffett make some of his greatest investment decisions. His friendships with business leaders, with CEOs, with world changers, all played a role in shaping his understanding of markets, of people, of opportunity. Buffett didn't succeed just because he was smart. He succeeded because he built meaningful relationships that expanded his thinking and his reach. But this isn't just about billionaires and investors. This is about life. It's about how every opportunity, every breakthrough, every moment of transformation happens through relationships. Think about your own life, the job you have, the skills you've learned, the opportunities you've been given. How many of them came from a relationship? A mentor who believed in you, a friend who introduced you to the right person, a colleague who supported you when you needed it most. Too many people see relationships as a means to an end. They network with a mindset of, what can this person do for me? They collect business cards. They send out cold emails. They look for ways to leverage connections for personal gain. But relationships don't work that way. Real relationships, ones that last, ones that matter, are built on trust, on mutual respect, on genuine care. Take a moment and think about the people you trust most in your life. Why do you trust them? Is it because they asked you for favors? Is it because they only showed up when they needed something? Or is it because they were there when you needed them? Because they listened, because they cared, because they showed up, not just in the good times, but in the hard times too. This is why relationships matter, because at the end of the day, success is not just about what you know, it's about who you know, and more importantly, who trusts you. Opportunities don't come from resumes, they come from people. Doors don't open because you sent the perfect email. They open because someone on the other side believes in you. Consider the difference between two people looking for career growth. One focuses solely on personal achievement. They work hard, they hit their targets, they push themselves forward. But they don't build relationships. They don't take the time to connect with colleagues, to support others, to create meaningful bonds. The other person also works hard, but they invest in relationships. They mentor others. They take time to understand people. They build a reputation for being someone who adds value, someone who listens, someone who uplifts those around them. Now, fast forward 5 years. Who do you think will have more opportunities? Who do you think will be recommended for leadership positions? Who do you think will have a stronger, more resilient career? It's almost never the person who focused only on themselves. It's the person who built relationships, who created trust, who became the kind of person that others want to see succeed. This applies to every area of life. In business, the best deals are not made between strangers. They are made between people who trust each other. In friendships, the strongest bonds are not built on convenience, but on consistency. In leadership, the most effective leaders are not those who demand authority, but those who earn respect. One of the greatest relationship builders of all time was Fred Rogers, better known as Mr. Rogers. He had an uncanny ability to make people feel seen, heard, and valued. His show was not just about entertaining children. It was about helping them feel understood. And that's the essence of every great relationship, making the other person feel valued, making them feel important, making them feel like they matter. The irony is, when you stop treating relationships as transactions, you actually get more out of them. When you focus on giving instead of taking, you receive more than you ever expected. When you become the kind of person who genuinely cares, who listens, who invests in others, not because you have to, but because you want to, you find that doors open in ways you never could have planned. This is how opportunities are created. This is how success is built, not by stepping over people, but by lifting them up. Not by chasing connections, but by nurturing them. Not by focusing on what you can get, but by focusing on what you can give. Imagine if starting today you approached every interaction with a simple question: how can I add value to this person's life? How different would your relationships be? How much more trust would you build? How many more doors would open, not because you forced them open, but because someone on the other side wanted to open them for you? The world is full of people chasing success as if it's a solo journey. But the ones who truly succeed, the ones who go the farthest, the ones who build lives of meaning and impact, are the ones who understand that the journey is not meant to be walked alone. The greatest achievements are never about one person. They are about teams, about communities, about relationships built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. We don't remember people because of what they achieved. We remember them because of how they made us feel, because of the way they lifted us up, the way they believed in us, the way they made our lives richer, simply by being in them. That is the true measure of success. Not how many transactions you complete, but how many meaningful relationships you build along the way. Most people believe they need confidence before they take action. They think they need certainty before they step forward, that they need to have every detail mapped out before they make a move. They tell themselves, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll launch that business when I have all the answers. I'll pursue my dreams when I have more experience, more skills, more knowledge. And so they wait. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect plan. But here's the hard truth. That moment never comes. The perfect conditions you're waiting for, they don't exist. Think about any great innovator, any leader, any person who changed the world. Did they start because they felt completely ready? No. They started despite feeling uncertain. They moved forward despite fear because they understood something most people don't. Confidence isn't something you have before you take action. It's something you build through taking action. Consider the story of Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. She didn't have a background in business. She didn't have connections. She didn't even know how to manufacture a product when she first came up with the idea. But she didn't let that stop her. She took the first step. She made cold calls to manufacturers even when she had no idea what she was doing. She drove around the country, convincing stores to carry her product. She didn't wait until she felt ready, because if she had, she never would have started. And today she's a billionaire entrepreneur who transformed an industry. This is the pattern you see in every success story. The people who make things happen are not the ones who feel ready. They are the ones who take the first step anyway. They are the ones who move forward despite fear. And as they take action, they build confidence, not by waiting, but by doing. There's a famous scene in the Indiana Jones movie, The Last Crusade, where Indiana Jones is standing on the edge of a cliff, looking across a vast canyon. He knows he needs to get to the other side, but there's no bridge in sight. He hesitates, he doubts, but then he remembers the lesson. He has to step forward in faith. He takes a step into what looks like thin air, and the moment his foot lands, an invisible bridge appears beneath him. The path was always there, but he couldn't see it until he took that first step. This is how life works. The path is rarely clear before you start. The confidence you think you need, it comes from moving forward, from figuring things out as you go. If you wait until the bridge is fully visible, you'll never take the step. Think about learning to ride a bike. No one ever feels ready the first time they try. You're wobbly, uncertain, terrified of falling. But if you waited until you felt completely confident, you never get on the bike in the first place. Instead, you start before you feel ready. You stumble, you fall, you get back up, and somewhere along the way, something incredible happens. You learn, you gain balance, you gain confidence. Not because you waited, but because you did it anyway. The same principle applies to everything in life. People assume successful entrepreneurs, leaders, and visionaries had some kind of special confidence that allowed them to start. But what they really had was courage to act despite fear, courage to step forward without knowing all the answers. And through that action, they built confidence. Jeff Bezos started Amazon out of his garage. He didn't have a guarantee of success. He didn't have absolute certainty that it would work, but he started. Elon Musk didn't have a roadmap when he launched SpaceX. He had no experience running a rocket company, but he took the first step. These people, they made until they felt ready. They acted, and in doing so, they made themselves ready. Now, some people hear this and say, but what if I fail? And that's a valid fear. Failure is always a possibility. But here's what most people don't realize. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of success. Every person who has ever achieved something great has failed along the way. Take J.K. Rowling. She was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter became the global phenomenon it is today. Imagine if she had decided after the first rejection that she wasn't ready. Imagine if she had waited for a sign, for someone to tell her she would succeed before she tried again. The world would have missed out on one of the most beloved stories of all time. Or look at Steve Jobs. He was fired from the very company he founded. Most people would have seen that as the end. He could have told himself he wasn't ready to try again, but instead he used that failure as fuel. He started new companies, he learned, he grew, and eventually he came back and transformed Apple into one of the most influential companies in the world. Failure is not a stop sign, it's a stepping stone. The difference between people who succeed and people who don't is not that successful people never fail. It's that they don't let failure stop them. They learn, they adjust, and they keep moving forward. Waiting until you feel ready is just another form of fear. It's a way to delay, to avoid discomfort, to protect yourself from the unknown. But here's the thing. Everything worth doing will feel uncomfortable at first. Everything meaningful, everything that has the potential to change your life will require you to step into uncertainty. If you're not willing to take action before you feel ready, you will spend your entire life waiting. Imagine if every great artist, every great leader, every great thinker had waited until they felt ready. Imagine if Martin Luther King Jr. had waited, if Einstein had waited, if every entrepreneur, every inventor, every trailblazer had told themselves, I'll start when I have more experience, more knowledge, more confidence. The world would be a very different place. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to take the first step. Because once you do, something amazing happens. You realize that you are capable of more than you thought. You discover strengths you didn't know you had. You learn that confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you earn through action. Right now, there is something in your life that you are waiting to start. A goal, a dream, a change you want to make. And you're telling yourself you're not ready, but the truth is you will never feel 100% ready. There will always be doubts, always be fears. The difference between the people who build great futures and the people who don't is not that they had more certainty, it's that they acted despite the uncertainty. If you take nothing else away from this, remember this: action creates confidence, not the other way around. The first step will always feel scary, but take it anyway. Because once you do, the next step becomes clearer. And before you know it, you're moving forward, building momentum, shaping your future, not by waiting, but by doing. So here we are, 5 rules that can change your future. 1, own your mindset. Your beliefs shape your reality. 2, stop asking for permission. No one is coming to give you the green light. 3, master adaptability. Change is not the enemy, stagnation is. 4, build real relationships. People will open doors that talent alone never could. 5, take action before you feel ready. Courage comes from doing, not waiting. These rules don't require luck. They don't require privilege. They don't require a perfect background. They require a choice. The question is, what choice will you make today? Because the future isn't waiting for you. It's being built one decision at a time. And it starts now.